is what we see quite a lot, that people, and we don't know how much longer they have to live, they don't want to eat and drink anymore. And sometimes we learn now with palliative care and palliative medicine, end of life, that we have to accept what these people want as law, because we have a wonderful law here in Switzerland where you also can write down, and even if you are not able anymore to pronounce your will, it's written down, or as you said, the family knows. In this case, she would, or he would. So what do you say about if somebody says, I don't want to eat and drink anymore?
Yeah, this is a very common situation, unfortunately.
Yes.
So again, the default position is we do everything to convince them to eat, okay, and give them fluids. If we can get away with intravenous nutrition, liquid fluid, we do that. By the way, there's some interesting research.
Against their will?
I'll come to that in a moment. First of all, we try to convince them. There's interesting research now being done on full parenteral nutrition through a vein, not needing central access, and amazing stuff. So they're well tolerated, not just glucose, but actually full they're not yet clinically used, but that seems to be the next direction. The default position in Judaism is we would force someone to eat if they're going to die of starvation. So we put in a feeding tube even against their wishes. That's the default position. In practice, we often don't. And the reason is many of our rabbis write that when you're going to cause severe stress, you're going to cause the patient severe anxiety, stress, they're even going to fight with you, etc., you're probably going to kill them by doing that or hurt them more than the food. Under those circumstances, you may not, in fact, be able to. But we would try to everything we can to make sure that they don't die of starvation. That's the general thing. It's very difficult, and in practice, often we just can't force somebody to eat with no appetite, and they won't do it. If you can't, you can't. But we should try everything we can not to let people die of starvation.
Thank you. What happens when, as Rob said, the psychological and emotional pain is so severe, the person has been already in an inpatient facility, different treatments, doctor said there is like maybe a personality disorder. A lot has been done, and the family members are all the time concerned that this person is going to attend to their life. So
you in suicide? Take their life?
They by suicide. So until what point do we, the family, the professional team, remain vigilant when the person is constantly not responding to any treatment as well, and that's the wishes in a way?
Your question covers two bases. One is when they are so severely suffering, psychosocial suffering, so that should be treated as far as possible. That's a psychiatric challenge, a psychological psychiatric challenge that deserves treatment. Maybe antidepressant acting. Okay, let's say, but again, we don't ignore that. We don't say that just like medically we try to treat what the pathology. If the pathology is psychological, we should try to treat it. Sometimes it's simple measures of help, not just medication. It might be money. It might be practical things that are needed. When it's a suicidal problem, again, in Jewish law, one is not allowed to kill oneself, and therefore we do everything we can to prevent it. Absolutely. If even in extreme circumstances, we might have to take extreme action to prevent somebody from killing themselves. We don't say it's allowed just because a person's in such extreme distress. Yes. Anything that I can answer?
What is the significance in Jewish tradition or Jewish thought of keeping a person alive who can't do anything anymore? He's unconscious or is completely demented?
Yeah.
What is the importance of keeping him alive?
The question is, what's the importance of keeping someone alive who has no quality of life or even value that we can see? That may be completely demented, they may be unconscious. The first point is we don't have authority to kill people. So the reason we need to get them alive, it's a mitzvah, and we don't have the authority to stand idly by when someone dies, with the exception of what I said before, and we certainly don't have authority to kill people. Further, if you ask hashkafically, what's our Jewish philosophical approach to such things, we don't know the value of life, but since God gives it, and He doesn't give us the authority to take it away, we assume there is. There are some peripheral issues. For example, the kindness of helping a person who cannot thank you, right? Maintaining a life even when we don't see the value. The cruelty that would be involved if we did terminate lives. There are some peripheral issues, but the basic issues we just don't have the authority to end someone's life. By the way, we do recognize that a person is unconscious with no hope of we do recognize that's a very poor quality of life. All persons conscious suffering very badly, we do. And the practical expression of that is we would indeed let them die. But we just cannot actively
sorry, that's the question about this person who has consistently tried, not responded to treatment consistently because they say that they are
So
suffering.
the technical answer to your question is that is suffering just as valid as physical pain. And we'd handle it the same way. Again, we try to treat it psychiatrically here as opposed to surgically. But if we couldn't, we'd register that as general suffering and we'd have to acknowledge that such a person might be allowed to withdraw treatment, not food and so on, but maybe not surgery, chemotherapy, yes indeed. But that would be a real failure of psychological and psychiatric care.
Okay, we have one last question before Minche. Minche is at 5 p.m. In the small shul, just around the corner. And just before ending, I would also like to mention that Rabbi Finchas told me that if somebody has wants a handout of his presentation, please mail it to Ayala, and she's more than happy to hand it over to you.
Also forgot to thank Ayala for the Any last question?
Yeah. I may have missed this part, I apologize. You mentioned something about the assisted suicide that wasn't allowed, and you quoted the part about the effort that you and your friend, you cannot, right, that I will take the blood. Later you also referenced Los Amarat Amrefa. I'm curious, is it only the Efa, a Jew cannot kill another Jew, or do assisted suicide, would non-Jews be allowed in theory?
No, so everything we said today applies to Jews and non-Jews. No reason to make any distinction here. Again, the only practical difference might be in a country that insists on doing certain things and we're powerless to stop it. I'm not sure we have to go and protest in the streets to stop them doing what they do, but ideally we would if we could. And I think everything that we discussed here today covers, maybe not IVF with that's specific to Jew and non-Jew, but everything I've said today applies to non-Jews as well.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.